All right, Pops, we're back.
Yes, we are.
What are we talking about today?
By God, about pay. The fact that you don't pay me, but technicians get paid.
Yes, Yanni Barron with us, our service advisor extraordinaire.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about technician pay plans today, correct, Yanni?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's definitely go over this list because I think it's important for the viewers to understand, how technicians are paid, of course, in quite a few different ways. This is going to be great.
All right, now before we do, how we get paid, sign up at yourautoadvocate.com. Buy some of our stuff. Probably the simplest, shortest throw I've ever had. Yanni, let's hop into, links down below if you do want to see what we do. Wow. But Yanni, let's hop into technician pay plans. So how are,
first some of our stuff.
Please. I said please this time.
Okay.
You want to say please?
Nice pitch.
We'll see if it works. Yanni, can you explain first, kind of hierarchically where technicians fall in, the service department? And then, let's hop into it. How do they get compensated?
In the service department, the technician is number one, period. There's no questions asked. The service advisors are number 4, 5, and 6, even though there's nothing in between number 1 and 4. But that's pretty much where we are on the totem pole.
Is there something you want to get off your chest, Yanni?
Nope. I just let it go. You have two different pay plans really for most technicians. You've got a flat rate, which is them getting paid, let's just say $20 an hour. And if a job pays 8 hours, then that technician made $160. If he gets it done in 5 hours, he still makes $160 because that's the pay time for that job. That's flat rate. And then, of course, you have the simplest one, which is hourly, which is most local garages, unless it focuses on a specific line of cars. But most garages are an hourly rate that, the technician is getting paid. So if he's getting paid, $20 an hour, he gets paid on his 8-hour day, he's making $160. He doesn't get any incentives for doing any more work or any less work. He's there and he shows up and he does what he has to do, I guess.
Now, a flat rate mechanic, where they work against book time as to what the book says a certain job should take. And if the book says it's an 8-hour job and they do it in 5 hours, they picked up an extra 3 hours in their day that day by completing an 8-hour job in 5 hours and getting paid for that 8 hours. Can a flat rate mechanic make a really nice living?
Oh, absolutely. A flat rate mechanic can make fantastic living, but it all depends on that mechanic's, self-drive to, one, put out quality, and then number 2, turn hours. So on average, you'll find that a flat rate mechanic will turn, anywhere between 10 to 12 hours for his 8-hour workday. So he's got a 30%, increase in his pay for the 8 hours that he's put in. But you equally so have, flat rate technicians, flat rate mechanics that once they sell an 8-hour job, they're milking it for those full 8 hours because that's just how their spark works, I guess. So, if you are self-motivated, if you're active, if you're involved, and you're willing to turn the time, then you can definitely make a nice living.
So let's say you have a flat rate mechanic that completes an 8-hour job in 5 hours. But he wasn't necessarily what's the word I'm looking for? He wasn't doing his job as thoroughly and as carefully as perhaps he might have because he was just trying to beat that 8-hour job. If it turns out that the repair wasn't done right and it comes back and he has to then correct his errors or his mistakes, he doesn't get to charge for that time again, does he?
No, he definitely does not. That technician will actually most likely be, falling into a negative in his own pocket and then also paying for additional parts out of his own pocket to fix the error that he made by cutting corners, by, shorting the job itself. So when that job comes back, of course, it goes right back to him. He's got to review it. And then there's someone else who oversees to see the fact that, why did this car have to come back?
Mm-hmm. Can I ask a question, though? Because I just want to make sure I understand. If I'm the mechanic and I can beat book time, and let's say I get another job done during that 8-hour day as well, am I pocketing that difference of, it was an 8-hour job, so it pays $160, but it took me 5 hours. Do I pocket the difference, or does the dealership or the shop I work at, do they pocket the difference? I'm kind of curious. Where does the money go?
So if you were hourly, then the shop would pocket that difference because you're getting paid $20 an hour. So if you get an 8-hour job done in 5 hours, you've only made $100. But the shop will then pocket that difference because you're hourly, and they can be more profitable on your hours. You'll find a lot of local garages that use that science or platform to create more positive revenue on the business side of things, where, at dealerships for the most part, when the technician is flat rate, he then pockets that 3-hour positive on that job, and then therefore he can take another job. I think from what I've seen and from what I've read and the industries that I've been involved with, that there's a very small percentage of really high turnover technicians that will go ahead and actually do quality work and turn the time and make, a 30% turnover on the jobs that, call for 8 hours.
Gotcha. And there's always going to be, just like, we've got an article back at yourautoadvocate.com talking about salesperson compensation on the sales side. There's always the 1% that could go make $500,000 a year because they're the 1%. So there's always, outliers at either end. I guess one of the things that I'm curious about is we have on the sales side as well, Black Book, Kelly Blue Book. We've got the books over there for like trade-ins and valuations. What is this mysterious book on the service side that seemingly dictates, is it from the manufacturer, them saying a job should take this long, and then as a mechanic, it's my objective to try and beat that? I guess I'm just curious, what is this book?
Yeah, so the book is from the manufacturer, what the manufacturer has found over doing the repair, depending on what you have to tear down and before it to get to that final point of replacing that failed part. So they've come up with that book time. But you have companies like Mitchell On Demand, you've got All Data, which are, private companies that have found that, doing this job based upon their national standard, they've seen the job be a 6-hour job. Over at the manufacturer side, it could be an 8-hour job. So it just depends on what that store, what that garage is using to base their hourly rate on.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a good flat rate mechanic, and I mean a good one. I mean one that works and does the same jobs over and over again. For instance, when I was at Acura years ago and we had transmission issues, and Acura was replacing transmissions, well, you only had certain mechanics that actually did the transmissions. And Acura might have paid 10 hours or whatever it was, but the tech, because that's all he did for a month, he figured out how he could do that job in 5 hours and do it properly in 5 hours, where he was making himself a lot of money because he had the skill set to be able to do it in a much shorter period of time because he had done it so often. It's like a heart surgeon. The first open heart surgery you do, I'm guessing as the surgeon, you might screw it up a bit, and it might take a little longer than it does by the time you're doing your 1,000th one.
Yeah, but when you do your first raid on the cadaver, he doesn't complain really. Well, you get a few visits, a few tries, at least the first one.
If he does complain, you really got issues.
Yeah, but so this brings up a great example because you have some dealerships that use these, team group technicians where you have an A-level technician, of course, who's usually your senior, B, C, and D. So your D guy is going to be your tire guy, your oil change guy, and your brake guy. Your C guy is going to be a step above that, and of course, continuing up to A. So they'll work as a team and take on 3 or 4 projects, and everybody gets, of course, their piece of the pie, depending on their, grade level, of course, to how much money they get paid and how much time they get paid per the job. Which, I think if you have very, very good management, that can work out well, but it's really case by case.
Are there any mechanics, or maybe they're apprentice mechanics, I don't know, that work just strictly on a salary, a small salary of some kind?
So that brings up another good topic that I like to talk about. I can't say that I'm a fan of the hourly rate or the flat rate.
Okay.
I find that if you can combine an hourly rate or a salary, let's just say, with a flat rate incentive, I think you're then developing a better structure to incentivize, of course, your employee, and then also gives them the opportunity to maybe want to strive for themselves to say, okay, you know what, I need to do more. I know I'm getting this amount, and you're going to get certain people that are going to stick to the base, but you'll find that most people say, wow, I have the opportunity to make more money without really having to really stretch myself to work too hard and burn out over a short period of time. So I can go a lot further into that. I've got the science down on it, I think, but I'm keeping that for a later video.
Gotcha. What is the business side like? Like, what's most profitable for the business?
Really, it depends on the size of the business, but you'll find that both parts and labor can equally be profitable. It just depends on your volume. So, I think if you're at a smaller store, then you'll find that most of your labor side is going to be more profitable. Where at a high volume store, your part side is going to be a lot more profitable.
Gotcha. And obviously there's always the balancing act of like, you could drastically underpay people, but then there's going to be high turnover. And honestly, that's something that, Dad, I know you've talked about a lot with salespeople. They can turn over really quickly, and there's all sorts of different pay plans to try and mitigate that. I imagine the same thing is on the back end as well. Like, if you don't pay people fairly, they're going to leave, and when they leave, it's really expensive for the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you've got your prima donna technician, of course, and you've got your true what's what I'm looking for here?
Apprentice?
Your specialist. Yeah, your specialist. You know what I mean? Someone who actually cares about what they do, no matter what brand they work for. And the guys that's the prima donna, he's coming in to put in his 8 hours and call it a day. Where you got your other guys that are truly about the brand that they work for, fixing cars right, and turning over high volume.
Now, Yoni, is my dad a prima donna or a specialist? Just out of curiosity, what's your take?
Your dad is right in the middle, happy in the middle.
Yes.
That was a very diplomatic answer.
You can just call me Donna.
Donna. All right, Yoni. All right, Donna.
Can I hit one thing?
Hit it.
And now I forget what the hell it was, so we're not going to hit it. I did have a question for Yoni, but that's okay. You bullshit your way around, and it's what happens. I forget stuff.
Yoni, thank you for this. This is really helpful. And Pops, I have faith that you'll remember it by the next one.
Well, hopefully, but it might seem odd if I just throw it in the next one.
It's all good.
My pleasure, guys. Always fun.
Thanks, Yoni. See you soon.
See you later.
Bye, Ray. Bye, Zach.
Bye-bye.